I've told you I'll teach you how to make money with crypto. People often say, he says crypto guys are losers. No, I don't. I make a load of money with crypto. It's fine.
People often say he says crypto guys are losers. No, I don't. I make a load of money with crypto.
Crypto Twitter is full of losers. But crypto Twitter is full of fucking geeks. They're all dorks. They're nerds. It was a circle jerk of nerds. And there was all these crypto influencers on Twitter. Bruv, these are the worst people in the world, these people. All these crypto influencers. All unimpressive specimens of human.
With crypto, nobody needs to like you. You can be a complete moron, a nobody with skinny little arms, absolutely dislikable, and make 50 million.
Crypto is bullshit. Every single crypto dork, I am glad you are all going broke. We're talking about a bunch of degens, a bunch of losers, a bunch of gambling addicts.
Cryptocurrency is the only industry in the world where you can be a complete unlikable autist with no people skills and still manage to make $50 million.
A bunch of dorks have bought into a coin, and they're trying to dump on each other all day, while in a Telegram group talking about community. Bitcoin's on sale. Dorks. Because these dorks sit there, scam each other all day.
You were a nerd, and now you're a rich nerd. And being a rich nerd does not stop you from being a nerd.
Gambling on crypto coins, gambling like a degenerate loser, helps precisely nobody. Crypto pumps are what the lazy loser dreams of. It's full of losers because these are people who are afraid of hard work, who want to make money for nothing. They have a 0% net positive impact on the world.
Peace, everybody. How you doing? Yes, I started the stream to remind the world and to remind the people and believers that you gotta just be careful. Just because if someone says that they believe in God or that they submitted to the will of God does not necessitate for it to be true. There are people who are actively hypocrites, right? And I do believe Andrew Tate, from what he has shown, that he is an active hypocrite. An active hypocrite is when someone says something that they know inside in their heart that it's not true, but they use it as a way to con people. And then there's other people where when they do say something, they just, subconsciously do not realize that they're lying to themselves and they're lying to the people around them. So, for example, it's like someone saying that they really love the president of their country. But then if they get invited to go to the president of their country's house, they in their mind, they say, well, you know what? I'm not really that interested right now. I got some other plans. Well, then if you did love him, then why aren't you excited to go see him? So things like that are very evident in this world today. Unfortunately, we have to consume a lot of media in this day and age. A lot of independent media is what they call it. But this independent media is tailored in a way to just sell you the person rather than sell you a product. And some people are selling you a product, which is what the person is representing. But very, very, very little people in the wild, okay, not religious people, not people who are preaching the religion. Very, rarely do you see people that are, talking about what they do in the world or how they react in the world, or they're making videos in the world that bring up the concept of God, or they bring up God in their words and the way that they approach things. It's very sad, the condition of the world that we're in today. How you guys doing? Peace to everybody. It's nice to see everybody. Peace, JS. Peace, Tikram. Ahmed, Adam, Afwan. Adam, how are you? G Unit, salam, bro. But I am. It's nice seeing you guys. Can you guys tell me how it sounds? If everything sounds good. Peace, Munshi. It's nice seeing you, Jibril. How's everyone doing? Yeah, today's sorry, I am in a certain good, awesome. I am in a certain mood or in a certain way right now, so it's maybe this today will be a little shorter than usual. I do want to turn this up, see if this helps. I have a problem with this mic. It keeps wanting to turn down itself, but that's an issue with Windows that I think I can fix a little later. Yeah, so today's lesson is actually quite straightforward. It really is. But people always like to not make it straightforward when it is very straightforward. And unfortunately, people do not understand that sometimes when you want to, sure, thanks, bro. So yeah, in peace. So yeah, so it's like sometimes people, they try to come at you in a certain way where they believe in an idealistic settings that they could be right. But in this world, as I say to a lot of people, ideally, we would love for everybody to be a believer, because in that case, if everyone believed in God in the last day, then we wouldn't have as many problems. And when problems arise, it would be so easy to deal with because we would be very objective in the way that we approach things. Oh, you killed that person, so there is this law that needs to be enacted upon you. Hey, do you guys forgive him? Yes, we do. And then we move on. But in this day and age, it's like, hey, we have a camera and you obviously killed this man. No, I didn't. Yeah, you did. No, you guys are crazy. You guys are saying things about me that I didn't do. No, you clearly did transgress against that person. And no, you guys don't. God knows that I'm an innocent man. No, you clearly are not. But this is the things that we have to deal with in this day and age, right? And that's what I was trying to say, is that idealistically, or like ideally, we would love for everybody to really believe in God and to really attach themselves with the fear of God and their fear of judgment on the day of judgment. But realistically, that's not going to occur, because God said that if He willed, He would have guided everybody in the world. But that's not what was going on today. Now, we do have some issues in this world today that, as I said, we need to be very realistic about. And this sense of being realistic, it comes with experience, and it requires wisdom for you to know what to do when you need to do it. And there's a lot of people around you that like to now, especially in this day and age, because it seems like everyone has a voice. And you know what? It is a blessing, because I myself have a voice in this sea and ocean of voices that keep wanting to teach and preach and lecture people on what to do and what not to do. But obviously, in this day and age, you have the capacity to listen to somebody and to follow what that person's worldview is, and you have your standard of measuring that person. And you can also, on the flip side, is to invest in yourself and try to become a better person. I feel like one of the diseases that's happening in this day and age, this world, is people want to shortcut. You know, they wanted to have it quick, they wanted to have it easy. They're not willing to invest in themselves, in what they appreciate. And sometimes when you are investing yourself into something that you find valuable, that you need to accomplish, there's always 100 people. Sorry, there's always a lot of people that are telling you that you are wasting your life, you are not doing what you need to do, and yet some people go as far as trying to prove themselves right by jeopardizing your life and by interfering and oppressing you with what they perceive as good for you. And yet they themselves don't know anything about what God's book says. It's very weird. But this is the life that we're living in now. Now, I haven't started the sermon, by the way. This is a really long intro. So let me see. I feel like someone has a problem with what people have to say about Andrew Tate. Tikram Salam. Tikram, what is it? Going to hell, I'm sure you would know. What? Who's... Oh, you're defending... Are you defending Andrew Tate? You do not know what's in his heart. Are you playing God? No, but God is telling us on how to judge individuals, my brother Tikram. So if I see somebody going and beating up little kids and then saying like, hey man, I'm a good person. No, you're not. You're beating up little kids. So, and he goes, oh, I promise to God I'm a good person. No, because when you're being reminded that you're hurting little children, you don't care. So at this point, it's very clear that the words of God has not influenced that individual. He does not really have, respect towards the word of God. Yes, I can say that this man is not on a good standing on the day of judgment. Does not mean that I'm going to go to hell, or he's going to hell, or not going to hell. It just means in my books, from what God has sent, that this man is in trouble. Is there a high chance of him going to hell? Sure. Am I going to base my judgments against that? Yes. Am I going to go around and cast him to hell in front of people? No, because that's not my position. As you said, I'm not playing God. But God has clearly showed us that this man does not mean well for us. So why would I need to sit here and protect him and say, I don't know what's in his heart? This could be said about everybody, but that's not how we judge the world. We judge by people's actions. We judge by what people said and what they did. Okay. So if this man does not repent and he does not sit there and actually be honest with what he's saying, then sure. But he's a hypocrite. So, and hypocrites go to hell. That's what I know. I can't believe, like, guys, I swear. It's so, anyways. Brother Muhammad, what do you think about buying a house nowadays? Is it haram? Eating riba is haram. Paying riba is not haram. If you're forced to pay riba, then you're going to pay interest. You're going to pay interest. But taking interest is terrible. Peace, Ashley. Peace, bro. Yes, that's actually very smart. In what regards? Well, what is masculinity to you? Is he targeting, are you talking about the people that fell into the woke mind where they wanted to be over liberal and try to appropriate everybody, and they ended up being very extremely sensitive and very soft to just basic criticism? Anyone can really speak about that. But what masculinity was he teaching? That you need to be in the gym and you need to be a strong man, and that if anyone who crosses you, you need to have the ability to kick their ass? Listen, if it's very simple, like it's a simple approach, if it's about the strongest man who's actually the person in power, then why do they have a very weak man, like weak physical man in the president chair? Why is the king of Jordan not the strongest man in Jordan? Because we're not animals. The whole concept of what he considers alpha is exactly what it is in the jungle, but he has the ability to express himself with the words. But yet that man cannot stay in 10 minutes in a room with me, because I would show how weak-minded he is, how much of a lack of discipline that he has, that he keeps preaching about. Yeah, sure, he has a great body, but God said that about hypocrites. He tells people to go to the gym and to worry about the money. He's selling people into the worldly life. I would not consider that a man. God talked about men that visit the house of God, the houses of God often, in the morning and the night. So if he's not doing that, I don't know. I wouldn't consider him this tough guy that people want to tell me about. Intellectually, he's very weak-minded. He just has a way of speaking which is very, very terrible. And the way that he approaches matters is extremely terrible. No, man, I don't care for him. Yeah, like he's yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to talk about a topic that seems like it's been pressing for quite some time. But before we start that, I want to first thank God for this opportunity and for Him to bring us closer to each other in regards to trying to understand the message of God. May God increase our knowledge. May God make us people that are always on the book, that people who want to please God in what they do and how they live their lives. And I do pray to God to make this setting where we gain knowledge and makes us steadfast on His religion. And may God bless me and you guys, and forgive me and forgive you guys, forgive anyone else who wants to trespass against us, unless if they are people who do not value God nor the day of judgment. And all praise to my Lord. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know in the last little bit that you guys see me maybe approach certain individuals in a way that you yourself would not approach it. Maybe that you've considered that because I speak of God, that you assume that I need to be a doormat just because someone else says they believe in God. The concept of peace is to maintain the peace in a way so that people are not transgressing at each other. Maintaining the peace does not necessitate for us to actually be good friends, or for us to have communications, or for me and you to be able to sit in the same room. Because that's not what it means to keep the peace. Because as God says in one of His verses, and I will put the verse on the screen for you guys to see, God understands that there's going to be differences, but not differences in religions, just differences within the people. And yes, some people will have differences in religion, but it does not necessitate that we need to split. But if someone does decide to split or does want to live their life, God is telling us that there are ways for us to be cordial with that person without us having to become buddy with people. Okay, so God says here in chapter 4, verse 92, and it is not for a believer to kill a believer except by mistake. Okay, and whoever kills a believer by mistake, then the believer shall free a believing slave and over blood money to his family, unless they make it alms. But if he, the dead, was from a people who are enemies to you while he was a believer, then he shall free a believing slave, and if he, the dead, was from a people between you and them, a covenant, then offer blood money to his family and free a believing slave. Okay, so there is something that's very interesting here, is that if he was from a people who are enemies to you, but he was a believer. Okay, so it's very important to realize what God is saying here. We do value each other and we do keep the peace because you claim that you believe in God. Yes, and if you are a person that I see that you do your prayers, you do your alms, and you do what you need to do in whatever way that you want to explain it to yourself, I'm okay with you. We can get along because that's what it means to keep the peace. But it does not necessitate that me and you are not enemies, and it does not necessitate that me and you are not on the and that if there isn't animosities, and it does not necessitate for me and you to become buddy and become best friends. Because sometimes I do, in the world that I live in, I can foresee people coming up with issues and problems that would hinder what I would like to accomplish in the day, for my day of judgment, and what I believe the message of God is truly saying, when it has become very evident and clear in what God said in his book. And just because you want to take shots, or if somebody is taking shots at you, and yet they believe that they're a believer and they say that they believe in God, it does not mean that now you have to always forgive, because there are ways to deal with trespasses. Sometimes you just explain to the person how they trespassed, and then you go back to maintaining the peace. Again, you do not need to transgress against them. You do not need to trespass against them. You don't need to take your revenge. You do not need to plan a retribution. You do not need to. You could threaten them and tell them literally, I could do this to you, but I'm choosing not to. But it does not make me stupid or weak-hearted. It's because I'm giving it back to God. Now, unfortunately, because of certain hypocrites that keep trying to take shots at me and my friends, and when I retaliate, I usually find people that want to say that, hey man, like, it's about peace and you're doing this wrong and this is not the religion of God and you should, like, quite frankly, you are not a person in a position to tell me how I should be reacting when I have not upset the peace that was around me. I was not the first one to take shots, and I'm not supposed to be taking shots, because that is what it means to have the awareness of God. We all get some terrible ideas and we might all not agree with certain people, but it does not necessitate for us to make it very public and for us to actually put it out there. And sometimes you can have feuds between each others in a one-on-one setting, and you can exchange some harsh words with each other, but asking to be left alone, and the chances of you thinking that you were going to find some reconciliation, or for us to go back to where we were, or all these other things, it does not have to happen just because you think God told us that this is how it's supposed to be. In fact, no, God wants us to maintain our peace in a way where it pleases him, where it's something that is going to benefit our religion and the way that we approach things. So if my relationship with you is always strained to a point where I find myself being upset, or I find myself degrading the way that I'm thinking and thinking negative because of the way that you're handling yourself, for me to maintain the peace, it is best for me to not engage with you, and for me to actually detach myself with you. And this could be applied to an individual, and it could be applied to a whole set of group of people. But I understand some people are so concerned about these relationships and these uh, labels that people keep putting to each other that they need to sort it out and fix the problem. No, the life is about keeping the peace until the responsibility that God has given you, he is going to take back, which happens when you die. So all these relationships and all that we're doing, we're not going to be judged by who your friends are. I'm not talking about believers, I'm talking about individuals. You're going to be judged by how you took care of those relationships and how you handled yourself. And yes, some people you're not supposed to be friends with is because of their actions and the ways that they perceive themselves or they represented themselves, especially when it comes down to God. So it is very clear in the book of God that there are believers within each others that are factions. They're not sects. They're not different sects. They're not seeing the religion differently. And then they have a group leader, and this group leader is going to be representing the religion. And if this guy said something, it becomes law, and this guy's a lord. Those are sectarians. This is not what we're about. But what we're talking about is there is factions within the believers, right? There are ways that you can approach the book that is a little differently from one to another. But there's the objective truth. And when if someone wants to take shots at another group, God told us to maintain the peace between them. And if somebody wants to go at the other one, then we fight the one that is oppressing the other side. Now, if anyone does watch my channel for a while, they might have realized that there was a group of people, which I don't assume them as people who believe in the book of God. They believe in their own whims, and they just do not sit and actually consider that they're wrong. But I had no problem with them being part of the community because they might learn something or one or two things. But when it came down that they wanted to attack the community and attack people who do believe in God in the way that God has described it in the clear Arabic tongue, at that point I retaliated. I could see the people on their side always defending and supporting the videos that they put out. But anytime I put out a video, well, then now I needed to hear a lecture and hear some advice on how I need to deal with people because I need to maintain the peace. I find that extremely hypocritical. And this goes as far as even dealing with your parents and your loved ones. Because there is a verse where I would like to show you where God talks about that you do not see believers, okay? You do not see believers who believe in God and the last day. Let me pull it up. Oh, الممتحنة. No, ممتحنة would be before it. مجادلة, which would be مجادلة 58, and we go to the last, and I'm gonna share this screen right here. Boom. Okay. So you will not find people who believe in God in the last day befriending those who oppose God and his messenger, even if they were their fathers or their sons or their brothers or their tribe. Those are the ones who heart he has decreed the faith. Those are the ones in whose hearts he has decreed the faith and supported them with a spirit from him. And he will admit them into gardens beneath which rivers flows eternally therein. God is pleased with them and they are pleased with him. Those are the party of God. Verily, indeed, the party of God, they are the successful. Yes, God does tell us to treat our parents well. God tells us to befriend them in the world or sahibhum fi dunya. So it's like you're not being friends, you're just accompanying them in the world. But then you also have the example when Abraham, his father, was wholeheartedly denying the messenger of God and the message of God, then who are denying the message of God, Abraham disconnected from him. He freed himself from his father because it was clear that his father is not somebody that's honest. His father is clearly somebody that just wanted the worldly life, and his father thought he knows what's best for Abraham. So he was telling Abraham, you either follow my path or I'm going to hurt you. And at those points, God is clearly telling us that it's the best way to approach these situations is to let them be. But there is a sense of loyalty to God that is very important. It's something that you truly love. Like these conditions and these relations and who my fathers are or who my parents are, who my friends are and who am I around, these are for me extremely temporary. I'm on a standby until my death. So I don't take these to heart. If somebody needs to leave my life immediately, they will leave my life immediately and I will not feel bad about it. In the moments we might have an argument, we might have certain going back and forth, and mostly if you do not believe in God, you might transgress in certain things and you might try certain things, but it's just because I believe in God. I do not need to think about you, nor do I need to pull you down after I leave the door, or if I close the book or I close the phone. It's not something that I'm going to sit and ponder about a lot because I just care about God, and God is sufficient for me and it should be sufficient for you. God should be sufficient for you in your life. You do not need relationships for you to feel good about yourself, even though we are a social creature. But you could see in the condition in the world that we're living in, the believer is extremely outnumbered. But not only that, we are split apart, and the world is not very welcoming to God's message. People might understand what the truth is, but you don't see them making significant changes in life for them to actually approach the message of God in a way that is very truthful, where it's very sincere, that you could measure and understand that that person is actually feeling fear in that moment. It's very rare that you reach by or find people in this day and age with that kind of mentality. But of course, it's only by the people who really so by the way that they treat themselves and treat others. Okay, so now someone did say something I wanted to answer. This right here, this last verse is in chapter 58, verse 22. Okay, and the word though wasn't used khali. It goes yuwadun. The word is yuwadun. Muwadda is like love and affection between people. The word sahib is someone who accompanies somebody, but it could be understood as a friend as well. So that's the word that was used. So, ladies and gentlemen, for me, to maintain the peace is for you to not transgress and for you to not sit there and try to assault people. And if they're present in the room or they come back to the group or they're in front of you, you do not need to interact with them, nor do you need to sit and be fake with them, but you could treat them cordially. You do not need to sit here and start to smile at their faces and try to act like you guys are getting along when it's very clear that there's animosity between you. You just keep your peace, you keep yourself, and you do not need to sit and try to trigger yourself by what this person does. Unfortunately, passive aggressiveness and a lot of psychological ways to attack somebody, these are present. But the person who shows patience and maintains his self and his composure in those moments, that's fine. And of course, there's people that have to deal with that kind of animosity in different ways. Sometimes you do need to express yourself with a little bit of anger, even though it's best that you consume and you hold your anger. But yeah, some people transgress against you in ways that you do not appreciate, and they go against your rights. So maintaining the peace does not involve you having to be friends with somebody. It's about being cordial. You allow the person to have their rights. They're allowed to roam the same way you're allowed to roam. They're allowed to talk the same way you're allowed to talk. But if they take shots, you have the chance, you have the right to either take a shot back or to forgive and move on. And forgiving and moving on does not mean that you're weak. It means that you trust in God, and you're going to see who's going to be weak on the day of judgment. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that said, I am bringing it to an end. This is our sermon today. Keep the peace between everybody, especially because you are the one who is maintaining the peace. It can be that one person can transgress, which can cause a whole community and can cause wars because of your single action. But then it does go down into your head that the peace was broken because of a single individual or a single action that someone chose to do. Wars are not declared by communities. Usually wars are declared by a leader or somebody who's sitting in a room that they've decided that it is time for us to go at each other's necks. These are all decisions that need to be made sometimes, but we have to be very careful. We have to be extremely careful. We have to be extremely careful if we're going to be breaking the physical peace, or if we're going to be breaking barriers, it is because we have been transgressed, or that if somebody has broke the religion of God within themselves and they are trying to propagate lies and hate, then we do sometimes need to take action. Ladies and gentlemen, the way that you should be living is the way that you want to, the way that you should be living should be around the goal that you want to accomplish. Even if that goal seems like it's extremely difficult at this time, we are in a world where it is very unknown what could happen tomorrow. Of course, we don't know God's plan, and that's very true. But I mean, in the consistency of what society's been building around you and this stability that people think that they have, it seems like it's always shaken at every corner. I mean, people are chasing money, people are chasing political desires, people are chasing fame, fortune, and all other things where it is, again, not worth worth your end. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, stay on the religion of God, and I do invite you to keep a connection with God, to keep calling towards your God and keep calling others towards your God, because your God is truly the only entity that can save you. And we might be in a position right now where in the position that we're sitting right now, we need all of God's help of whatever He gives us. With that said, thank you very much for joining the sermon. I am going to be praying the chapter that I just pulled up, 58. Okay, so I'm going to be praying chapter 58 after this sermon, inshallah. So it's called the Mujadala, the argumentative, right? And it starts with, God has heard the statement of the one who argued with you concerning her husband as she complained to God, and God heard the discussion of you both. Indeed, God is hearing and seeing. So obviously, the prophet is going to try to maintain the peace. If we don't need to cut ties, that's the preferred route. Sometimes you do also need to cut the ties. So with that said, as usual, welcome to the questions and answers. If you have questions, tell me in the chat. I'm going to start reading a little bit in the chat. It's good to learn from people with experience in business. And ultimately, when it comes to it should be, all right, okay. Is the difference in wahi and ilham? Yes, there are differences. Tanzil is almost like downloading. Okay, so God is downloading something into somebody. That would be like tanzil. Okay, God is bringing down the book. Okay, wahi is almost like, because a good example of understanding how wahi works, the way that I see it, is like Zechariah was told to go quiet. This is in chapter 19. Okay, chapter 19. One of the signs of Zechariah was, yeah, it's right here. So share this. Yeah, so God says, your sign is that you shall not speak to the people for 3 straight nights. So Zechariah came out of his mihrab, his place of worship or kindred, out of the sanctum, and suggested to them, glorify early in the morning. The way that Shaiba opted to use the word suggest, but here it's awha. He wahi to them. So because he can't speak, he was like, he signaled to them, the signaling. So it's like for me to like, if those situations where somebody can like talk to you with an action, that's a form of wahi. So it's like, hey, it's like, where is he? Like I'm telling you, he's over there. You understood it. Why did you understand it? Because I done an action for you to know. So it's like, imagine like a king, okay, going like to somebody, okay, that man is going to be put to death. Why? Because the sign of put him to death has been shown. So God can just like literally let you, by an action, understand and reveal it to you. And then there's obviously the revelation inside, which is like which is also a form of wahi, right? But you don't necessitate for it to hear a voice in your head. Okay, so tanzil can also include an angel talking to you. That's something that's being downloaded to your head, but you could just like have a feeling, and the feeling is what God wanted you to have, and that's a form of revelation. And then finally, what you said, the last work, is ilham. Ilham is 100%, from what I understand. I can't say 100%. Sorry. Alhamahu. It's like it's something, your impulses, right? So it's like an impulse at that point. Alhamaha fujuraha wa taqwaha. And it's like an impulse that you're like wholeheartedly into, that you cannot control at that point. Do you think world peace is truly possible? I think there is a chance for people to not have fights, but there's no such thing as world peace, because we have a clear enemy till the day of judgment. So there's always going to be the war. The war does not necessitate for it to be physical, and it does not necessitate for people to be dying. Man. No, I don't. Sincere atheists would have a good life. I haven't seen it. You guys want to watch it together? What's your, yeah, I read that. Okay, 21, 21, 92, 93, 94. 21 is prophets. 21, 92. I don't know if it's talking. Yes, so this is a clear verse, actually, in my opinion. So, indeed, this is your nation. It's one nation, and I am your Lord's. Worship me. But they broke up their affairs among themselves. They will all return to us. So I don't like when people say, oh, Jesus is their prophet and Muhammad is our prophet. No, Jesus is my prophet and Muhammad is my prophet and Moses is my prophet. They're all messengers of God to me and my nation. We were always supposed to be one nation from Adam all the way till now. But obviously, the single nation got cut up to Jews, Christians, Sunnis, and all sorts of other sects and denominations. Like, we need to find a general name for like these people that think that they're Muslims. Well, they're Muslims, but they're not believers. I mean, the community that they claim that they follow less prophets, I would say, الذين تبعوا, those that followed, because they don't follow anymore. They follow their scholars and whatever they want. So God says the Jews, الذين hadu, those that like try, like that guided, and Nasara, those that like did give victory, but they no longer do. And I think الذين تابعوا, like the people who like followed, but they don't follow anymore, is a good word. But this is just my own thing. But yeah, so like they cut each other. But God says, whoever acts good deeds while being a believer, then there will be no rejection to his effort. For indeed, we are recording and writing for him. So I believe that is saying to us, as God said many times, there are Christians, Jews, and Sunnis, obviously Sunnis and Shias, that end up going to heaven. Why? Because they were genuinely good people. I think the future generations are in trouble, but this is also a big sign of God that the word is being fulfilled on people. No, bro, you're wrong. This is not right. The word Nasara comes from Alladina Nasaru, because Jesus said, Man Ansari ilallah. And Nasara is an Arabic word for a Christian. Before Masih, Masihi. What? No, I don't think it's important. Why is it important for me to remind people of the sacrifice of Hussein? Whatever he did for himself. God calls them al-Hawariyun. Yeah, so where does the Nasara come from? Isa said, Man Ansari ilallah, who are my victors to God. And that's why God calls them Nasara. Not Al-Ansar, Al-Nasara. And it's not Al-Muhtadin, Al-Ladina Hadu, Al-Yahud. So there's no ayah saying that rejecting God will go to hell. Actually, it does say that those that don't believe in the hereafter are casted to hell. So, but I don't. Why would I sit here and try to justify about atheists? There are people that say that some atheists go to heaven and whatnot, but that's if they had an intercession or if God bestows some mercy upon them. But that's something that's going off the straight and direct and narrow. Of course, God is capable of doing all things. I just don't believe by the standard, by the book of what God has said, that atheists go to heaven. So that's the basics of it. Would I might find somebody who's an agnostic, or yeah, but if someone truly believes in his heart there is no day of judgment and he does not believe in God, I think it's done for him. Salam alaikum. Peace. Mujib. I'd like to talk to you, brother. I can't. It's difficult to have a conversation with you. So, and because I'll tell you why. You are trying to come up with me with concepts that I truly understand what you're saying, but I just don't agree with. And then you want to keep talking to me about it in a way where you're trying to show that I'm incorrect, but you are just trying to find a very niche understanding that you believe that this is what the verse is saying, and you're forgetting the surface level of the argument. Like you are trying to show that there are absolutely no laws of punishment in the Quran, which is not the case. And then now you were trying to tell me that Hajj is other than what is extremely obvious of what Hajj is. I don't like these conversations. It does not bring me closer to God. You're just causing confusions. Okay, but we can talk about Hercules if you want. It's again like, what's Hussein got to do with my religion? Like that's the grandchild of the prophet. What's that got to do with my religion? Like, what important lesson do I need to learn from him? Sacrifice. Okay, I'm sacrificing. Why can't I talk about the book of God and it could be sufficient? You're not even asking me to talk about the prophet. You're telling me to talk about the children of the prophet. It's got nothing to do with Islam, guys. This is not Islam. Guys, I'm so tired of people needing to have to preach to me and lecture me on what I should do and what I shouldn't do. I hate it. Like I genuinely hate it. I don't need people to teach me. I swear to God, if I wanted to learn something, even as a little kid, if I wanted to learn something, I hated going to school. I go teach myself. You could ask my whole family. I hated school. I don't go to school. I don't like it. If I need to learn something, I did it on my own. I learned programming by the grace of God on my own. I learned how to drive a car on my own. I learned how to shoot a gun on my own. I learned how to travel on my own. I learned how to do everything on my own. I don't listen to these. If there is a question that I had within what I need to learn, I'd go look at a tutorial and I would come up to my decisions. People coming telling me what I need to learn, what to do, it never worked for me. It never works for me. Even God tells me not to obey that kind of mentality. I don't need to be told. I don't like being told. If it's something that I've already made a conclusion to, I've already put the time in it. I hate when people come tell me on what I need to do and what I shouldn't do. Like, and I truly believe every human should have that same feeling. I appreciate reminders. If the reminder has something to do with what I'm addressing or what I'm something coming, like, hey man, I'm really upset. Don't worry, God's got it. Thank you, bro. That's amazing. Thank you for telling me that. I appreciate that positivity. But hey, bro, I think you need to talk about the boat of Noah because you really didn't understand what the boat meant. Like, bro, get away from me. Like, I don't need this, man. I don't need this. It is not important. You see, this is it. Like, no one is forcing, bro. I'm my own hero. Okay, I am my own. I'm the hero of my. This story. I am the hero because I'm the one who's going to be responsible. Because if I see you on the day of judgment, Hussein, I'll be like, hey, bro, that's my hero. You know what Hussein's going to say? I don't know you. What do you want from me? Leave me alone. This is exactly what God said. I do not need to emulate anybody. I do not need to sit here and copycat anybody. I don't need to sit here and try to learn about people because those people have what they've already earned. I'm trying to earn. God says you have your works and I have my works. Your works is copycat. My works is trying to understand the mentality of this person that you want me to talk about. You understand that? Like I don't emulate Prophet Muhammad. I don't emulate Abraham. No, I follow their creed, their mentality. I don't live like them. It's 1400 years after the Prophet, after Muhammad. It's thousands of years after Abraham. If I wanted to emulate them, I would go put up a tent. I would raise goats and I would live in the forest. I would live in the desert and I would go to city walking because then that's emulating them. Because then I would understand the harsh conditions that they had to endure for them to be who they are. But then absolutely nobody in the world would really listen to me because I would be a hermit, someone that is completely detached of how society is now, and nobody would ever appreciate what I'm doing, and I'll be reinventing the wheel. I don't need people to tell me on what they think works, because if it works for you, the glory to you. But if I'm seeing somebody who actually is broke or somebody who really doesn't know how money works and he wants to teach me how to make money, if somebody who went through a divorce and he's single or he's cheating on his wife and he's going to tell me about relationships, or is somebody who's sitting there telling me about how idolatry works and yet he's idolizing, I don't need it. like quite simply, I don't need it, bro. Yes, they did, Mago. Do you think it's wrong to not want to do it? Because, bro, I didn't support them. I didn't pay for Hajj yet. I did Hajj. Yeah, so it's your relationship with God. I'm not doing it to support the Saudi nations. I have money in the bank, yet I hate the bank, right? I'm not supporting the bank. I'm doing what I need to do to get by. Because, yeah, so I didn't pay for a Hajj permit, nor will I ever pay for a Hajj permit. And even if they give it free to me, I would sell it to somebody else. And how would I sell it? By giving it to him, because I don't want it. Like, I said the word sell. I didn't mean sell. Ladies and gentlemen, it's like, yeah, sorry. Whoa, no disrespect, but could you tell me the story about Hansel and Gretel that align with Islam? Yeah, bro, don't eat candy. Like, if you see candy houses, don't eat them, because you could see when Gretel said the magic words, it's like, wow, that feels really good. She was buying into the world. Don't be a Gretel and be like Hansel, who said, we got to get back home. Oh, man. Sorry, guys. This is... Man, this guy is in love with Hussein, bro. What's up, Turkey? Shalom, bro. Ladies and gentlemen, he puts the word worship and then says it's not idolatry. We're fucked. Astaghfirullah azim. Astaghfirullah azim. Astaghfirullah azim. I'm sorry, guys. Show what on the stream, bro? I can't believe you asked that question, guys. Worship, the feeling or expression of reverence and adoration for a deity. What's a deity? A god. You only worship God, dude. There is no worship other than to God. So hero worship is you worshiping your Lord. I don't worship no heroes. God is my Lord. I don't worship no hero. There are heroes in the world, but you don't worship them. Can't believe we're going through basics, man. Quran hero worships Abraham. I think you need to go look up what the word worship means, bro. Ezekiel, let me see your question. Ezekiel. What's the name? Is adopting children with no parents more? Yes, 100%. That should be your priority, is to adopt. But if you think that you cannot be just with children, then you go make your own if you believe that you're not going to be just with orphans, then you go marry 2, 3, or 4. One if you can't be just with more than one. You don't worship God. Awesome. Do you pray Friday Jummah? We're doing our Friday right now, and there's a prayer after. Well, I pray after as well. But wow, guys, every day I'm online, the more I want to just like go into a mountain and sit in a mountain. He doesn't worship God. He worships Hussein. He doesn't worship God. He worships Hussein, 0. You know what, guys? I have fun doing this one. I'm going to play it just because I have fun. I'm going to make myself laugh a little bit. 1 second. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Where is it? Pop, 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 pop. I don't know where it is.
I believe the Prophet Muhammad.
I enjoyed this. How do I share? Why does everyone hate you? I don't think it's hate. I don't think it's hate. There are people that hate me though, that I know. That I know. Ooh, okay, so there's no audio here. Huh. I know what to do. And God gave me the ability to understand how these computers work. All right, now we can share this one. Dum 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 dum. All right, ladies and gentlemen, give me 1 second. I'm trying to find a video. Found it, but okay. Here we go. This is the video I put yesterday.
I believe the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, married Aisha at 6, and he consummated marriage at 9. I have 0 problem with that at all.
It's another Sunni with a microphone. Pedo, not wrong. Niqab, no. What a hoe. Gospels, hell no. Hadith though, dear no. Pedo, not wrong. Niqab, no. What a hoe. Gospels, hell no. Hadith though, dear no. Don't touch the kids. Don't touch them. Don't touch the kids. It's another Sunni with a microphone. Pedo, don't touch the kids. Don't touch them. Don't touch the kids. Don't touch the kids, yeah. Pedo. Don't touch the kids. Don't touch them. Don't touch the kids. Don't touch the kids, yeah. Pedo.
That was my short yesterday. Okay. It's really weird, man. Like, okay, you want to see how weird it is? I'll show you how weird it is. Everybody's always talking about it while literally there's no child around, okay? Because let me show you something, okay? And this is gonna look so weird, but let's do something, okay?
I believe
wanna
the Prophet Muhammad.
something. Don't touch the kids. Don't touch the kids, yeah. Okay, let me show you something. Let's do this. Let me show you. Okay.
You just don't want.
Okay. Let's watch this together, however awkward it's going to be.
holds because they have territorial offense, which means they'll bite you, sting you, pinch you.
Great. Yeah. Well. So you're gonna teach us about some bugs today.
Yeah.
It's pretty much why I ain't in the bugs, I think. So go ahead. What's with the first bug? What is it?
The first bug is a stick bug. The stick bug is called a stick bug because it looks just like a stick. And the stick bug can reproduce its own eggs, but only the female.
Guys, you see what I'm saying? Do you see how innocent that brain is? Like, is this going to be someone that is worthy, or someone going to go through marriage at this point?
Now
Like,
can
do
you
you
produce
understand this? Like look at her. Tell me that this girl
blue butterfly lady?
is capable of running a household. Like, this is someone who is like up for marriage. Do you understand how weird that looks? Like, look at her when she's talking.
What made you
Like,
interested?
who's thinking in his head, like, bro, oh, she's astaghfirullah. Like, it's gross to even think
Did
about
it
it at that
bugs?
level.
Well, once,
Look at that.
we're not.
Like, imagine in your mind you're talking about a girl in that fashion. Like, how crazy would you be? And then they're saying, oh, the prophet did it. No, bro. No, he didn't, because he would not hurt someone like that. Look at this. Look at this. No, look at this. Bro, what is worship in Arabic? You're right. Servitude is ibadah. But what does the word sabbaha lillahi ma fi samawati wal ard? What does sabbaha signify? When you're exalting and exonerating and you're worshiping something, that's called tasbih. Do you like هل تسبح الحسين? Do you exonerate and exalt the Hussein? You definitely do, bro. It's weird, gross, man. Don't touch the kids. It's disgusting. It's wrong. Like, but none of them do it. like none of them do it. It's literally, I have not seen one of these dawah guys put his sister up at 9, put his cousins up at 9, or his daughter. I'm waiting for it. Hey, the prophet did it, so why doesn't he go marry a 9-year-old? Oh, bro. Yeah, like, just this guy needs to go, bro. Like, I'm done with him. Ban user and deletes their comments. It's all good. I'm done with it. He can leave. Telling me that worshiping people is okay. Astaghfirullah. Exactly. You see, they just can't bring themselves to do it. They cannot bring themselves. You have to become, you have to be so indoctrinated and really convince yourself that this is right, when everything in your body is telling you, no, it's not. Guys, I'll tell you something about pedophilia, okay? I will tell you something about pedophilia. The reason why pedophiles are pedophiles, because of its forbidden factor. It's actually a psychiatric issue. It's a psychiatric issue. Pedophiles, just like people who do bestiality, just like those people who do other weird stuff, right? The reason that they get extremely turned on is because of the forbidden factor of it. Because it is so wrong is the reason why they enjoy it. If pedophiles actually married a little girl, right, they would not be loyal to that little girl, because he's going to still look at other little girls. This is the problem with pedophiles, okay? It is they have pushed themselves into something where the devil is instructing them to fall in love, which is not love, which is to lust over something which is not allowed for them, okay? This is the reason why pedophiles, it's a disease. It is somebody who has a disease, a sickness in his heart, that he lusts over little children. Okay, so it's not something that is something within the human capacity. It's something that you need to allow yourself to reach and open those doors. And if you open those doors to those people, it's extremely hard to close. It's because they need to understand that it's a criminal mentality. Some of them know it's a criminal mentality, and others, they just go with what the devil is telling them. Look at all these videos of these people getting caught, like, hey, bro, why are you in this grocery store? Hey, this guy wants to meet up with a 10-year-old boy. This guy wants to meet up with a 10-year-old girl. They're not sane in the head. The way that they're speaking in their social capacity, it's clearly these guys are allies of the devil. So the whole concept of you saying to me, oh, no, the prophet, he had sex with a 9-year-old. No, it's not possible because of his purity. Okay, it's not something that he can turn to, because that's like saying, oh, the prophet is he's okay with bestiality. The prophet is okay with homosexuality. The prophet is okay with transgenderism. It is against what the human brain accepts. Having sex with little kids, like not hebophilia, I'm telling you, pedophilia, which is like a certain age and below, 10 and below, I believe. Okay. Hebophilia, I believe it's like from 11 to 14 or 11 to 16, whatever. There's two different words that people keep confusing. Their arguments, when they go online and they want to talk about this, they want to talk about 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, which is present in human history. But they don't address the fact that a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old is completely out of the picture, because that is a child. Is not even close to having a normal conversation. You're going to have a conversation about bugs with that child. What are you going to tell them about? Like, what are you going to have a discussion about with someone that age? Are you going to sit and start planning towards how you're going to raise your family and how many kids she's going to have when she's a child on her own? Like, whoa, bro. Anyways, I hate this topic. Anyways, it's gross. Yeah, but they will not sit and have a discussion with a Muslim about it. They'll have a discussion with other people and say like, "Hey, y'all, did you know in England that when she's that you can marry when she's 7?" Nope, that's a lie. That's a complete lie. What's this whatever? What is it called? The guy that you guys keep asking me about that I don't. Again, it's not stuff that I like. Husman? What was his name? What do you think of something? What was his name? Somebody asked me, what do you think about his criticism of... Oh, there it is. West Huff. Let me see West Huff and what he has to say. West Huff, Islam. Which video though? This is the prop. It's how long? Which one? Is it this video?
In chapter 29, verse 46 of the Quran, the text commands Muslims to engage with Christians and Jews, the people of the books, gracefully, saying, "We believe in what has been revealed to you and what has been revealed to us. Our God and your God is one, and to him we submit." Yet many Muslims today say something very different. Instead of affirming agreement with what has been revealed in the Bible, they accuse it of being corrupted and changed, that the God of the Bible is no God at all. In fact, numerous times the Quran spells out what it thinks has been revealed to the Christians and the Jews, calling the Torah and the Gospel a message that was sent down by God. If Muhammad has doubts, the Quran says that he should go and ask those who have been reading the scriptures revealed before him. Contextually, the only times the Quran has talked about previously revealed scriptures is when it's talking about the Torah and the Gospel. Muhammad is told by God here to go talk to the Christians and the Jews because they have revelation given to them already. Muhammad should have...
Yeah, but you see, from a Quran alone position, this is a very easy point to make. Yes, you have to preach what God has given you. And God has also said that, okay, so prophets have always been sent after Moses. So Moses was sent with a book. So why was other prophets sent with a book after Moses? You see what I'm saying? So Moses gave you the strongest, what you assume, the clearest book, which is the Torah. all the way up until Jesus, and each one of them came with a book. So Job came with a book, Ezekiel came with a book, you have Elias, Elisha, you have Solomon, David, John the Baptist, and then you have Jesus. And many of them, they came with a book. And those books themselves were talking about what the previous people were doing. Okay, so for example, Jesus constantly talked about the Pharisees and how the Pharisees were mistreating the religion. And did Jesus himself in the gospel, there are some significant changes in the way that he preached and practiced the religion, which does not go from the core fundamentals of what the Torah was saying, but there was some changes. Okay, so Prophet Muhammad in his situation has to go through the exact same thing. Why? Because the people who were responsible for the books of the gospel and the Torah, they did modify certain things in the way that they practiced the religion. This is also evident in what the Sunnis and the Shias do, correct? So when God is saying that they need to uphold what the Torah is saying and they need to uphold what the gospel is saying, and for them to judge within it, it's not to judge the differences within the Quran. So if God says that, hey, like there's only one God and that Jesus is not the Son of God, you can't be like, well, oh no, in the Bible, in the gospel, it's saying there's three, it's a Trinity, but so your Quran is wrong. No, that's not what the Quran is telling you to confirm. What the Quran is telling you to confirm that God has destroyed previous nations for their insubordination when the message came. God is telling you to confirm that you have to be kind to your parents, to your neighbors, and to be a good human being. God is confirming that there are prayers and things that you need to do for you to get closer to God, which is found in all religions. Pray, give what from what God has given you, and you need to do the rites that God has ordered you upon, which has to do with a sacrifice once or a few times a year, depending on the religion that you follow. The core principles of how a human should be is already outlined for you in the Torah. If you hold on to the Torah and you had absolutely nothing else, you are capable of finding out on how to approach your Lord in a precise fashion. Do they have errors in the Torah? Absolutely. They said that Aaron built the calf that the children of Israel worship. But then later, the Quran is saying, no, it is not the truth. And there are so many stories where Jesus is correcting the Pharisees because of what the Pharisees presumed happened. So this is why these things is just minimal to me. Because this man, he's trying to say very easily in a very straw man fashion, because of what Sunnis and Shias do. They say, oh, well, because you guys have corruptions, the whole thing is neglected and the whole thing is wrong. And then you have videos where like you have Uthman, Sheikh Uthman or whatever his name is, going around telling people like, hey, bro, like, look, you have a contradiction in your book. There's a numerical contradiction. So in this part of the Old Testament, they're saying this age, and this part of the Old Testament, they're saying a different age. So which one is it? So therefore, your book cannot be from God, is what they keep trying to explain, and therefore it needs to be neglected. Come join our cult. But then if I open the Hadith book and say like, hey, bro, is it 9 wives or 11 wives? There's a numerical contradiction for the same Hadith. They don't have the same reaction. In fact, they have the same reaction that they get from the Christians and the Jews. When I say, bro, like there's a hadith that's saying inside the Kaaba, there was a picture of Ismail and Abraham, but then there's another exact same narration where it's a picture of Mary and picture of Abraham. So which one is the truth? To them, these are minuscule problems, but that's the same thing with the Christians and the Jews. So it's the exact same material that is being covered. I reject the hadith because God did not give credence to the hadith. He didn't say that this book is from God, but God did say that the gospel is from God. God did say the Psalms is from God. God did say about the books that came down to the prophets. God did say that the Torah is a book from God. But did it go through what the hadith went through? Absolutely. Did it have changes? Absolutely. Did it have modifications? Absolutely. But guess what? The story about Prophet Muhammad entering the Kaaba and seeing different pictures, there could be some truth to that because the Prophet entered the Kaaba. But this additional and exaggerations, this is what we keep finding in the hadith, which is inconsistent. But do I need it? Absolutely not. Now, there's the story of the children of Israel worshiping a golden calf. Now, who built the golden calf? To me, as a human being, it's not very relevant unless if you're saying that a prophet did it. Because if a prophet is the one who led people into idolatry, then I have a problem with my faith. because that means that I have people that are going to say that worshiping Ali is normal. Because look, there was a prophet before that worshipped a golden calf and he was forgiven. But then God is correcting these errors. This is why I can take the Torah as an inspiration. When Jesus says, for example, allegedly, it's just so the hadith people don't jump at my throat. Allegedly, Jesus says that if you want something from God, you keep banging on the door and asking for God until God opens the door, because it's about the persistence. It's about the consistency. This is teaching me about being steadfast. Oh, well, you listen for Jesus, but you won't listen to Muhammad's book. What are you talking about? God told me in Muhammad's book that for me to sit here and to hold on to prayer and being steadfast. That's what Prophet Muhammad said. Do you understand that? That's not alleged at that point. That's Quran. But this is where these misconceptions that Sunnis have brought forth to the world, where they keep diminishing the Christian message when God himself is actually promoting what's in their books. He's telling us to use what's in their books against them and against other people's as well. Do you understand? Like, these are for people who really want to tune themselves into the scripture. So yeah, the gospel, the people of the gospel should uphold what the gospel is telling them. But when there is a contradiction with the Quran is superseding it. Jesus is not the Son of God. Jesus did not die on the cross. Jesus is not the reason for your salvation. God did not send a lamb for sacrifice. God wants you to believe in one God. There is no Trinity, and that's the end of the story. But be good to people. Follow Jesus' example. Follow what you're finding out how Jesus thought. Be the healer that Jesus was a healer, and be the person who wants to educate the world, because Jesus was the person who's educating the world, and say that the Messiah came because Jesus was the Messiah. That's the end of the story for you. And it's the same thing with the Jews and what God said about Moses and what Moses did. Moses sacrificed everything for himself, from himself to God, and God did rescue the children of Israel outside of Egypt. Why are you now sitting around thinking that you're God's chosen people, so therefore you can act like Pharaoh? No, judge what's inside your book. God destroyed Pharaoh, and he has absolutely no problem destroying you, and produce a seed that's better from you, and which is still attached to Israel. So Israel's still the chosen people, but not you guys, because you guys got damned so many times in your books because of your own action. And the Quran is always validating that. And the Quran is showing you that how the children of Israel, right? The children of Israel, they did issues, and then they tried to cover it up with their own books so that they could show that they were the ones who were victimized when they were victimizing themselves. It's very simple. These are easy videos, bro. Why do you guys waste your
because in
time?
the very same section that says that the previous scriptures were revealed, it also says that no one can alter God's words. We know exactly what the Torah and the gospel would have looked like in Muhammad's day. We have copies, in fact, that come from the Arabian Peninsula during the time that Muhammad lived. These, of course, don't differ in any significant way in their core doctrine and teaching from any of the other thousands of manuscripts that predate the 7th century. In chapter 5,
because this is the thing that you do not understand. So his argument is extremely simple. He's saying that we found gospels dating at the time of the prophet and it looks exactly how it looked before. That is not true. There are significant changes from the 2nd century all the way to the time of the prophet. There has been changes in the books, and things needed to be canonicalized. They needed to be set as into standards, right? But these changes that have changed at the beginning, when the Quran came, there was just Jews and Christians that had their Bible, their Gospels, and the Torah, and then they got the Quran. They believed in the message of the Quran, and guess what? They kept their Gospels. They kept their Torahs. Therefore, when the Quran came down, it locked the Gospel and it locked the Torah in the way that it looked in the 6th century. He's talking from a point of complete ignorance. What he's reading today is the King James version. What he's reading today is someone else's version, which had to be in English. You see what I'm saying? He's not reading the Aramaic or the actual Greek that came down. And even the Hebrew language went through a whole evolution for what they have now. We experienced the same thing in Arabic. So this is just a point of
verse 46 and 47 of the Quran. It lays out a chain of custody that God sent down the gospel to Jesus, confirming the Torah, both of which contained guidance and light, and said that the people of the gospel, in other words, the Christians, must judge by what God has revealed to them in the gospel. If they don't judge by the gospel that God has given to them, then they're referred to as the defiantly disobedient. The Quran has already stated emphatically that the gospel and the Torah were given by God, that these are revelations.
Okay, then perfect. You are telling us to judge by what the gospel is saying. Jesus himself worshiped the Father. The Father, God is being called God by Jesus in the gospel. Yet you sit here and give me stupid apologetics that no, Jesus is saying to worship him. That's not true. It's not true. Jesus himself submitted his will to the God. So submit yourself to the God. But no, you want to judge with your lies.
In the same inspirational vein as the Quran, and that they should be treated as such by Muslims. God's revelation in his word cannot be changed, and therefore if Muhammad has doubts, he's told to go to those who had the scriptures before him, the Christians and the Jews. The implication is that the Torah and the Gospel existed in Muhammad's day, enough to connect these revelations with the Christians and the Jews as reliable sources to go to. We have tangible physical evidence of what the Christians and the Jews would have understood as the Torah and the Gospel in their day.
Bingo, you said it. It is tangible evidence that I can sit here and use the Torah and use the Gospel as tangible evidence on what Prophet Muhammad is saying is truth. Because we have that story of Joseph. The story of Joseph seems so out of this world that it's literally the basis of most Hollywood stories because of someone losing something. And then later in life, he dominates. And because he dominated, the person who caused him the loss, they're sat in face to face and the guy is flexing on him. You tried to pull me down and I'm a better man. It is the best story, as God said that the story of Joseph is the best of stories. But the way that it was rendered in the Quran, where it's completely attached to God and God allowing it to happen, it's such an incredible story. But for someone to hear this story nowadays, it sounds so super far-fetched. What? A man was thrown in a well and then he got rescued and then he become like one of the leaders of Egypt during the times of the close to what you would consider the great civilization of the Egyptians before the pharaohs, ancient Egypt. And now his family comes and they don't recognize him and he recognizes them and then he flexes on them and he brings his whole family. Come on, bro, that sounds like Hollywood to me. But guess what? It's in your books. It's in the Torah. So I can reference the Torah to show you that the story is very similar. But you wanted to make Joseph look like a liar in the Torah. His dad gave him advice, and Joseph didn't listen to the advice of his father, and therefore Joseph is a bad child, when God is saying that this is one of the best people that walked on earth. So no, I'm going to go with what the Quran says, because the Quran is freeing Joseph of the lies that people started to attribute to him. I could see this nowadays. I'm such a small channel with 25,000 people, nowhere near to who Joseph is, but yet people still want to hate me and take me out of context, and I'm simply a drop in a bucket in this day and age. Joseph is someone who's very big in the world. He has a lot of haters because of who he is, even after he passed away. So the people who claim that they follow the book of God, because of how much they hated him, they said some lies about him. Guess what? The people that claim that they love the prophet, his enemies called him a pedophile. So these people keep repeating the same lies and they keep defending pedophilia, thinking that this is what the prophet did when it was the enemies who attributed to that. And then they go, well, there was nobody in his day and age calling him a pedophile because he didn't commit the act. Maybe did you consider that? Maybe nobody said that he married a 9-year-old or a 6-year-old because he didn't do it. That's why you don't have traces of people saying, well, this man actually married a young girl, which is kind of weird because this is what the rich people used to do. And this man told me not to go into the worldly life. And yet here he is going for a 6-year-old. This is why you don't have narrations of his enemies talking about it. But you guys are so weird, and this guy is suffering from the exact same disease that these people suffer from. So yeah, I sit and I have absolutely no problem referencing the Torah, referencing the book of Job, referencing the Psalms, referencing Ezekiel, referencing all the Elisha, the songs of Solomon, and also what the gospel said. But am I going to listen to Paul the Apostate? Nope. Am I going to listen to a lot of the Talmud? Nope. Why? Because that's your hadith. That's your books that I don't need. Easy, bro.
There's no indication.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give me like a challenge. Like these guys, I'll eat them alive. It's so easy, bro. It's easy. God's book's amazing. Anyways, but yeah, it would be nice to have a challenge other than these weirdos.
In the Quran of any substantial corruption or complete extermination of the Torah and the Gospel. If there was, the numerous times the Quran makes mention of them would have no reasonable application. The Christians and the Jews cannot judge by what has been revealed to them if they no longer have it. If the Torah and the Gospel are God's words and no one can change God's words, an accusation of corruption towards the Torah and the Gospel is one that either makes the God of the Quran out to be a liar or incapable of doing what he says he can do. But this brings me back to chapter 5, verse 46 and 47 of the Quran. In order to take this passage seriously, a passage that addresses because me personally, as a person of the gospel, a Christian, I run into a problem. If I judge the Quran by the gospel, which I am commanded to do in order to not be one of the defiantly disobedient, I find that the Quran misunderstands, lacks comprehension of, and outright contradicts the Torah and the gospel. So if the
No, this is where this is the idiot wants to speak from his own whims and desires. The Quran is not contradicting the gospel and the Torah. The Quran is contradicting the faiths, the lies that you were given, which does not sit in a reasonable man, the logic behind it. What you want to do is say that it's contradicting the fables and the myths that you heard. Just like how I could clearly say right now that the Quran is also contradicting the lies that people attributed to the blessed Prophet Muhammad. This is something that's clear in front of me. And the people who claim that they follow the Quran, they rather follow the myths and the lies that have been attributed to the Prophet. And if it was a different book than the Quran and God sent another book saying like you guys are liars about the Prophet, they would sit there and say, no, that book is wrong and our book is right. So it was your parents, it was your forefathers, it was the idiots before you that kept trying to say that God is a part of a Trinity and that Jesus is the Son of God. This is what you think is contradicting. God is clearly saying in the Quran that God does not need an heir. God does not need someone to be a son to him. And if he's going to have a son, why would it be a human being? Like the sun is a lot more powerful. The sun that you see in the daytime, it's a lot more powerful than a human. It can destroy us all by just literally moving 1 inch closer to us and we'll be done over time. But you're going to tell me that God needs a weak human being for him to send to the human being, which is this creature that came out that looks like a monkey. And apparently this monkey is going to be a part of a deity. Like, bro, what were you on about? Now, how come that you who love the Torah can't show me a verse where God is talking about a Trinity in the Torah, other than your whole like hullabaloo and you just want to twist the verses and say, look, see, this is a Trinity. Abraham didn't speak about a Trinity. Moses didn't speak about a Trinity. Nobody spoke about a Trinity. So I can bring the Jew, sit him next to me and say, hey, bro, you're an idiot. There is no Trinity. And then I can bring you and sit you next to me. And I go to the Jew and I'll be like, hey, bro, you're an idiot. Jesus is the Messiah. And then I can take both of you and sit you next to me and look at the Sunnis and be like, hey, bro, you're worshiping the prophet. You're an idiot. And you will all agree. That's how what God is saying to use and how it works. If I need to prove myself, which is God's sufficient as a witness, God's word is sufficient for me. If I need to use God's word against you and it's not enough, I can bring another witness that's not from my club. You see what I'm saying? I'll repeat it again for you to understand. I can bring a Jew who believes in the Torah the same way you do, and he will say you're an idiot for thinking that Jesus is the Son of God or that God is a part of a Trinity. And then I can bring you as a Christian and sit you next to me, and we can look at the Jew and laugh at him because God sent the Messiah. So these guys are looking for someone that is not going to come. You understand that? That he's an idiot not believing the Messiah was sent. And now I can bring you both, the Jew and the Christian, and sit you next to me and say that, look, these Sunnis, they love Prophet Muhammad more than they love God. And you will both agree with me. But then I can bring the Sunni and put him here. And I say, like, look, you guys have modified the books of God, just like how the Sunni modified the book of God. The Sunni will have agreed because they're going to say, we didn't modify the book of God, but they attached to it these other books. Like, guys, please, these are easy. Ooh, isn't ooh. Ooh, man, that was nice, man. Yeah, but I just don't like how this mic keeps going down. All right, Beyond the Quran, the ex-British Muslim. Oh, this Zindiq. Sure, Beyond the Quran. This is one of the weakest arguments I've heard. This is one of the weakest arguments that I heard. Honestly, this was one of the stupidest, weakest arguments I've heard because I watched this. Someone posted it before.
Hello, I hope everyone is doing well. So, not easy to say, but I owe everybody an apology. And that's because I've realized that I've made a big mistake. Something I'm quite embarrassed about, but something I'm very sincere about also.
You see, ladies and gentlemen, this is how you understand when somebody is being what? A hypocrite and an arrogant piece of work, because it's the way that he's giving an apology. It's not sincere because you can see it. You can hear the smile on his face. That's how genuine this little pig is. All right. Because I'm sorry.
Okay, bro, this is the difference between somebody who is causing corruption in the land and somebody who doubted his religion. You doubted God, you doubted the Quran. It's not for me. You close the book and you move on. You want to make it an example and try to pull people away from the religion of God. You are not only my enemy, me and you, it's on until you're done, because you're causing corruption and blasphemy in the world, things that I do not appreciate, as God told me not to appreciate. But so let's go on. Let's watch this idiot make a fool of himself.
Obviously, following this channel, you follow, Quran only Islam, what I made videos about for the past 7 years. I have come to the conclusion that the Quran is in fact corrupted and there are contradictions. Now, this is something I want to share with you over a few videos.
All right, bro, you're so boring.
I tried making one video, but it ended up being 30 to 45 minutes long.
Because of the way you speak.
This is not meant to offend anyone, by the way. This is simply what I have found. I think in our pursuit of truth and in our pursuit of spirituality, that connection with God, you have to be able to question things. And conventional Islam does not allow you to to question things. I think many of the people watching this video have been very open to questioning.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm having this video played at like 1.5 the speed, and he's talking like a normal pace. It's so weird.
Islam, to questioning religion, because they follow the Quran alone. And to do that, you have to ask questions. You have to go against the grain, again and against conventional religion, there, conventional Islam. So that has kind of been what I've been researching and discovering over the past few months. I think I surrounded myself with people who had similar ideas to me.
Okay, bro, can you actually give me the argument other than your like cheap history with your arrogance? So let me just, exactly. You're just waffling. So where's the actual argument, man? Can someone give me the argument? Ex-Muslim explains the Holy Trinity. How to critically read the Quran without knowing Arabic. Big math errors in the Quran. This is beautiful, ladies and gentlemen.
In Surah 4, verses 11 to 12 and 176, the Quran outlines verses on inheritance, and they contain fundamental mathematical contradictions. So let's get into that and I'll show you my stance. So all of these verses essentially say if a man dies, this is what you should leave your family. Now, the issue arises when you've got certain situations where you've got a certain amount of daughters or sons or wife or your mother, and essentially these numbers either will exceed 100% or they'll fall short of 100%. So the Quran doesn't actually give clear details on how this works, because we're not getting 100%. How can somebody leave more than they actually have? And what happens to the excess money if they're leaving less than they actually have? It doesn't make sense. So for example, if we look at a couple of examples here showing you how it exceeds, if a man dies.
Okay, so guys, here, watch this. He's killing himself in one picture. Okay. So he's saying the guy has 2 daughters, which is 2/3 of the estates. The parents have 1/6, right? And the wife has 1/8. Okay. So, but he has a fundamental issue that he thinks that you take it all together, you cut it up at the exact same time. So he's landing with what? 27 over 24, right? So what is the extra here? It's literally the 1/8 of the wife. So this is perfect from here, which is the 3 children. So you have, let me see, the daughters, right? I can't zoom a video, but okay. So you have the daughters, right? The daughters have 2/3, okay? And the parents have 1/3 and 1/8, which is 16 over 24, right? And now he has, one second, wife, 8. Sorry, hold on.
Is leaving 2 daughters, then he should leave 2/3 of the estate to them.
Oh yeah, so 2/3, which is 16 over 24, is the children, I believe, is 16 over 24, and then the mom and the dad, and the mom and the parents, which is 3/24. He's finding the common denominator. So you have 1/8, which is the wife. You have the 1/3. I know what to do. Actually, that's fine. So you have 1/8, which is the wife. You have the 1/3, and then the 2/3. The common denominator is 24, and there's an extra 3, because you could see 20 is finding 27 over 24 with the common denominator. And this is where it gets extremely simple, ladies and gentlemen. Do you know what the Quran says about the inheritance? Let's go pull it up. This is such a simple problem where it's so clear that if he wants to prove the Quran is right, then it was already proven to you that it was correct. But if he wants to sit there and be an idiot then he can leave the religion. I don't care. But look, guys, here's the verse in regards to the inheritance. So God is telling you how to deal with your children. God tells you how to deal with your parents. And guess what he says here? Okay? After a legal will has been prescribed or a debt. This is very important to listen to it. So you give the parents and you give the children after a legal will has been prescribed or debt. So you pay off the debts, you do the will that the person asked, and then you deal with the parents and the children. Okay? But guess what? There's another verse. And this verse is taking precedence. Where is it? It's right here. And for you is half of what your spouses bequeath if no children. But if you have a child, then for you is 1/4. And then he's telling you how to deal with your wives. Okay? But guess what it says here? This also has after a legal will has been prescribed or a debt without damage, a legal will from God. So there's again the same verse. من بعد وصية sorry, what was it? فإن كانوا من أكثر ذلك من بعد وصية يوصى بها أو دين غير مضار. Okay, so you have to at one point, and I'm really upset at this mic. So you have to at one point deal with the debts, deal with the debts and the prescription, and then you deal with the person right after. And then again, that's said at the same time, after a debt and after a prescription. So these two groups of people are dealt differently. These two groups of people are not dealt at the exact same time. So he has in his stupid video, and it's super easy to see that the extra one is the wife, right? It's this 324 or the 1/8 that came out of nowhere. Ladies and gentlemen, this idiot just doesn't get it. You know what it is? I'm going to go to Paint. I'm going to go to a simulator for you guys to see on how simple the system of God is and how these people who are presenting have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. And they now want to say there's an inheritance error in the Quran. But ladies and gentlemen, this is right here, the inheritance of a dead man. Okay? He has, as he said, 3 daughters. He has his mom and dad, right? And he has a wife. Okay, so this is his whole inheritance. Boom, right there. Let's put that. I don't like this brush, man. It's not the time to be a perfectionist, but let's do it so that this idiot, if he ever watches my video, he can see how stupid he is. So this is the whole debt of the individual. Okay, boom. This is what the person has. The first people that we're going to deal with is the wife. Okay, because it's your spouses first. Okay, so I deal with any debts and any prescriptions on my full thing in regards to my wife and my spouse. My wife is going to take 1/8. Okay, so let's just cut this up using yellow. 1/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Boom, whatever. Like that's the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There you go. So these are 8 parts. This is 1 part. Okay. So the wife literally takes the 8th. Boom. Done. That's her part. What's left? This part. Is there any more debts that I have towards my parents? Is there any more debts that I have towards the people? Did I have any wills towards these children, towards these people? No? Okay, guess what? Now I have to do what's left. Like cut it up for these people. So this becomes the new 100% here. See what I'm saying? This right now became the new 100%. This gets cut up with 24 instead of 8. And it gets passed by the people who needed to get passed by with. So that extra third is no longer there. It's not a problem because we've already dealt with it. But this guy is trying to reach a conclusion based on 2 parts where his math is clearly telling you, like, bro, you're making incredible theological, like an interpretation where you're completely wrong. Your interpretation is already proven in the fact that the extra that you have is your wife's share, the wife's share. You see that? It's only the 3/24 is the extra. Like, guys, can we please just have some people with some like rational thought? Like, okay, any human being that is dealing with this, he goes, bro, there's 3/24 extra, but the wife is taking 3/24. But then the rest of the equation is completely accurate. It's 24/24. But why is there this extra 3/24? Oh, I get it. You give her the 3/24, right? So I remove 1/8 of it, gone. Now with the new 100%, this total, this issue here, right? With that gone, I split that in 24 and it still works out. So the book of God was saying accurate. I just personally misunderstood it because I'm an idiot.
With the parents alive, 1/6 to each of them, totaling a third. And if they have a wife, 1/8 of the estate should go to them. So if we add these together, we just need to find a common denominator, which is 24. So clearly, if we just go 16/24, add 8/24, add 3/24, we get 27/24. This exceeds 100% of what the man owns. So how can he leave over 100% to his family? It's not possible. Another example is if a man dies leaving his mother, she should get 1/6. A wife should get 1/4, and 2 sisters should get 2/3. Again, if we find the common denominator here, which is 12, we add these together.
Bro, it's the
2/12 plus 3.
same thing. It's the exact same thing. He's dealing with what his wives, right? Before his wives and the sisters at this point, before the mother. And guess what? The 1/6 is coming from the side that it's the mother, and he got his math incorrect here because he's trying to put things together. And when there's excess, God tells you earlier to give from the excess to who? To the cousins and to the people that are beggars around you when the cut is being happening, when there's excess of stuff that doesn't get given away. Like, guys, this is such a simple, dumb argument where he wants to sit here and try to tell people that the Quran is not right because of this. Ladies and gentlemen, give me someone who actually comes up with something right. I mean, like something that makes sense. Let me see that the Quran was corrupt.
Now, this video is about the corruption of the Quran. Essentially, 2 talking points I want to talk over is the Qur'at and the Haruf. So, the Qur'at first. So, the Qur'at are essentially different textual variations of the Quran. So, you're commonly told that there's only one Arabic Quran, and it's been the same throughout all of history. That is wrong. I believe we currently have 10 canonical Qurans, 10 legitimate Qurans that have differences.
You're wrong. It's not 10. It's more than 10. There's 14. There's technically 14 canonical readings. Okay? So it's a lot more than what you're thinking. And the whole concept that you're going to come and say that the Quran is not preserved because of different recitations, bro, are we really working towards that?
In between them.
Guys, can someone tell me in the chat, did this guy argue against ritual prayers, yes or no? Did he believe there was ritual prayers in the Quran, yes or no? Like this is just a waste of time, ladies and gentlemen. I don't waste my time. I just wish if I knew if this guy had did the British Muslim, this guy, oh, he's writing a book. He's writing a book beyond the Quran. Yeah, guys. Wow. Look, he goes with the flat earth. The earth is not flat, into inheritance, into embryology. Yeah, the embryology. Bro, he used to pray at Sunni mosques, but did he believe in prayers? Like, did he have ritual prayers? So he is. Okay, fine. That's fine. And it would have been even better. No, but that's what I'm saying. If he's taking the same opinion as Quranic centric, the Quranic centric did not believe in ritual prayers. He's doing exactly what the Quranic centric is doing. They're just weirdos, man. They just lose. They just lose themselves. That was a waste of time. Guys, can you give me something that's not a waste of time? Let's react to something where it's a little bit funny. I want to rap, but I'm going to rap after the stream. I've been rapping a lot lately. What? That's okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you do have a doubt that you perceived something that you don't think that the Quran was accurate in a thing, these are things that human beings will all have. Okay. Obviously, people with a lot of purity, they will not have these tests and confusions because they just see the truth for what it is because they are capable of observing it. But someone can have a doubt. But as I said before, you are capable of automatically answering the doubt right away and then trying to find the solution because the solution will be there. Do you see what I'm saying? So, for example, this man saw that it didn't agree. It was 23 or 27 over 24. There's 3 extra. You in your head, you could be like, oh, prove the Quran contradiction, or like, no, I misunderstood. The equation is going to be accurate, but there's a way for it to be accurate. Let me find the accuracy behind it. Or is it unfair that God is going to be burning people in hell forever? No, it isn't unfair because God's doing it and there's a complete reason for it. But I had a doubt. I could sit there and say, yeah, it is unfair. So maybe God is a mean God, and the Quran is a lie, because why would God punish somebody forever? And no, this is not what the truth is. This is what my brain is trying to convince me, and my brain is inaccurate because this is how I'm going to be loyal to myself. Why are people going to hell forever? Because they've made the choice of disconnecting away from God. They're currently living in hell right now, but they do not see it because within their brain, they are not capable. Obviously, they're not in physical hell, but they in their brain, they're causing so much self-stress and self-pain because they want to take control of everything, and they're hurting people around them without them realizing it. So they've caused a lot of pain, and that just becomes like it manifests after they pass away and God resurrects them. That's the truth. It's their decision. But those people have an opportunity right now to become better people, but they chose not to. And then there's people that have been tested with the world their whole life. Like, okay, they want to be loyal to God, but they do not want that stress and the hell being built in their mind. So they keep pushing away the world. And then they get an opportunity to steal from somebody and they don't do it. They get an opportunity to buy crypto and then they don't do it. And they get an opportunity to do something and they don't do it. Right? And at that point, guess what? Those people have a different reward. There's so many times like you get an opportunity to maybe engage with somebody in a way that you shouldn't engage. Okay, some people can hold up, some people cannot hold up, and some people start to repent. God is giving you an opportunity to always look for the forgiveness and the mercy, and some people didn't choose so. It's very easy. Duluk Shams is when the sun is touching the horizon and it starts to go down. That's Duluk Shams. Bum, bum, bum. It's not the zenith. It's not from the minute. It's not from the minute, because it's one prayer. So duluk shamsu ila ghasaq al-layl. It is the setting of the sun. It's when the sun. Duluk is like massage. You see what I mean? Like a massage. Yadluk. So when the sun is touching the horizon, it seems like it's almost melting in the horizon at certain places. So it's like going into the horizon, and it perceives to you that it's like almost melting into the horizon, right? So that's the duluk shams. It's when it's like falling off the like when it's starting the sunset. So for me, I understand this. It's like you should start praying when the sun touches the horizon, like the bottom of the sun is touching the horizon rather than the top touching the horizon. But both is valid, I believe. I've answered this question on literally every stream that people came. So you can watch the other streams of this one. Ba 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 bum 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 bum. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please post the recording later. Who's the other guy? Oh, well, that it's according to the magnetic core of the Earth, because if the Earth is spinning at a radius known as the arc of time, if you notice it, there are these lights that come at certain spots on the Earth that people like to say that this is like the North Pole and this is the South Pole, and it's pretty consistent, but that is not what it means. It's about the center of the Earth, because God says in the stomach of Mecca. So Mecca is somewhere, if you like get in your car and you drive really, 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 really fast, and you are capable of like pulling on the steering wheel, and then you get to the rail station in London, And if you go to like station 42 and a half and you drive your car really, really, really fast into that wall, you would transform into a bunch of goo. And that goo is then now teleported into this place where you are like within your own stomach because of how much you got crushed. And then you might find Mecca there. Look at this, bro. Because I asked him to go look at exactly like the 16 videos I have about how to pray. Now I am pathetic because he doesn't want to do the work. Look at that. Don't understand the Quran and chose to cheat from Baba Shoaib's translation or ask you somehow else. Well, no, obviously not. No, that's you being, that's you looking for a way to understand. That's you self-studying at that point. You too, man. I'm not guided because I don't accept their books, according to them. Like the only reason why they hate us and they want revenge against us and for us to not speak is because we said we believe in the book of God. To them, that's upsetting. That's disgusting. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is a good spot for us to stop. Thank you very much for joining. I really hope we'll see you sometime soon. And God bless you guys. Peace.